Join subject matter experts as they provide thought leadership and insights for source-to-pay digital transformations in this hashtag Make Procurement Awesome with SAP Ariba podcast. Episodes cover various topics and innovations on source-to-pay, improving business outcomes, best practices, and change management, all designed to help you prepare for awesomeness. Have you ever been driving and suddenly hear a buzzing sound and you realize there's a fly in the car with you? I know this has happened to me on several occasions, and how we may respond to that fly may differ. Maybe you swat at it, maybe you open the window and try to encourage the fly to fly out on its own, or maybe you just completely ignore it. However you handle the situation, one thing we can all agree on is that fly is a distraction in your car. For procurement organizations, tail spend has historically been a distraction. Procurement typically focuses their attention on high-value strategic spend and managing relationships with those strategic suppliers. SAP Ariba provides solutions to help manage the spend in both the direct and indirect space. However, tactical and tail spend is often left unmanaged, and this tail spend can account for up to 20% of an organization's spend profile and 80% of its supplier base. Insert Ariba Spot Buy, a recent innovation to help change that around the globe. Welcome to this week's hashtag Make Procurement Awesome podcast. I'm your host, Amina Anderson, and today we're going to talk about tackling tail spend and more with Spot Buy. Joining in the conversation today are three Spot Buy experts from around the globe who will help share their perspective on how Spot Buy is impacting procurement organizations around the world. So we have James Tucker from North America, Richard Downs from Europe, and Damian Edelberg from Latin America. Gentlemen, welcome. So what was the business driver behind Spot Buy? Was this an ask that was coming from customers? Richard, why don't we kick this off with you?
Yeah, thank you, and hello everybody. So historically, e-procurement vendors have looked at the areas that generate the most savings for our customers. As you mentioned in your introduction, as our customers look at 80% of their spend, which is 20% of their suppliers, we do a very similar thing. Now, as our industry has matured, e-procurement vendors, we're looking for the new areas to provide savings, and tail spend is one of those next focus areas. In terms of pain points, when not managed, tail spend provides challenges around loss of visibility and control, as well as costly management of tail spend vendors. It's become very clear over the past few years as we've run this project and launched this solution that all our customers suffer from these problems, and they're very excited to see that Spot Buy can address them.
Yeah, I would say that not only are they excited about the Spot Buy solution, but I think that at least with the CPOs that I speak with, that the long tail issue has really emerged as an area of focus for many CPOs. And in fact, one of our early adopters in the U.S. Told me that they were adding about 20 to 30 vendors to their vendor master file every month. And then with Spot Buy, because they only needed a single proxy vendor for access to all Spot Buy supply, it really eliminated that problem for them, and it has become now their go-to solution. So rather than adding a new supplier for every one-off purchase, their policy is to first go to Spot Buy. If you can't find it there, then we'll add the new supplier.
Great, and I'm sure for some customers they're adding many more vendors every month.
Absolutely.
All right, great. So Damian, since the inception, Spot Buy has evolved to address more than just tail spend. Can you tell me a little bit about this evolution?
Sure. Spot Buy provides access to trusted vendor supply across common business categories, IT accessories, office supplies, or even MRO. So buyers are likely to find essentially anything they need with options around quality, pricing, and delivery.
If I could add a quick story to that one, Amina, is that one of our customers are in the high-tech space. They needed to buy about $50,000 worth of IT equipment, but their contracted supplier had about a 6 or 8 week backlog on that equipment. So they tried Spot Buy. They were able to find the exact items that they needed, in fact, at better prices, and then they were delivered in 2 days. So, they were super excited, and like them, more and more of our customers are using Spot Buy as now a strategic component of their sourcing, contract, and catalog strategies, really rethinking their approach to managing tactical buying in this day of online marketplaces.
Yeah, that's exciting. So Damian, can you give me a couple of examples of how Spot Buy is being adopted?
Sure. For companies with a new system, new e-procurement system or catalog strategy, they can adopt what we call a spot buy first approach. There, they turn on spot buy for the users, admins, procurement help desks, and in many cases for self-service procurement. So that way, procurement gets more users using their tools, which means a faster process, price, and cost savings, and improved compliance. In Latin America, this approach really resonates well because contracts and catalogs are the exception and not the norm.
Yeah, I'd like to add, we're also seeing companies with more mature catalog programs adopting Spot Buy to help augment any gaps and rationalize their catalogs that are old, a little bit stale, and no longer competitive. I'd also say, as this is a two-sided business model, our sellers, they're getting access to the SAP customer base and opening up new revenue channels. It also simplifies account management for our sellers, where they can now gauge the level of commerce with a new customer and when it becomes appropriate to officially manage that account.
James, what are our customers saying about Spot Buy? What experiences have they gone through, and what value are they starting to see?
Yeah, what I continue to hear is, especially with millennials, is that in this day of online marketplaces, that much of the workforce expects a similar experience buying at work that they have in their personal lives. And a good example of this is one of our large financial services provider customers. They have over 20,000 Spot Buy users in North America. And one of their users wrote an email saying that Spot Buy is a lifesaver. Apparently, the contracted supply that they had for envelopes was on back order, but they were able to find the exact same envelopes that they needed, in fact, at a better price, and it allowed them to keep their billing operations on schedule. And again, now they're really rethinking as to whether they need that to source and have a contract and a catalog for that commoditized item.
And let me just add on to that, James. So while Spot Buy absolutely makes sense for the buying of non-source goods, procurement leaders love Spot Buy because it supports their buying policies and compliance and controls. As an example, Spot Buy can be configured to limit suppliers, users, commodities, and even price thresholds by commodity. This also gives users a sense of confidence that the essential items they need to buy in Spot Buy meet those corporate compliance policies.
Yeah, that's very powerful. So Spot Buy was initially launched in the US, but in 2017 we heard about a significant global expansion. Damian, what's going on with Spot Buy in Latin America?
Yeah, that's right. When we were in the process of planning the expansion to this region, the decision on with whom we should partner with took us 2 seconds, because Mercado Libre is by far number one marketplace in the region. With presence in 18 countries, they have 65 million products listed and more than 3,000 branded stores. When you think in Latin America, due to factors like currency exchange fluctuations and inflation, which result in frequent price changes, contracted spend and catalog management is really an issue. So following your analogy of the fly in the car, catalog management in Latin America is like having a small bird in your car. So this resonated very well in Latin America because Mercado Libre can address and help us with that problem.
That's exciting. That sounds like a great partnership. And Richard, what are you hearing about Spot Buy in Europe?
Yeah, I think I'd echo the Latin American story. So Ariba Live in Prague, so our European event, the Ariba president, Alex Satzberger, announced a partnership with Mercateo, who are the 15-year plus leaders in B2B tail spend. And the announcement was around them being our new marketplace partner for Spot Buy in Europe. I think what's exciting about Mercateo is that they not only provide a source of supply with Mercateo Shop that has over 50 million items, they also offer a single creditor solution that complies with the B2B payments requirements that are needed in Europe. This is in addition to the suppliers from the Ariba network who are also providing millions of vetted SKUs on top of Mercateo Shop. Since the announcement, we've seen tremendous interest from all our customers, and interestingly, there's been a large interest from customers who are not based in Europe, who may not have the procurement coverage they do in their home country, and therefore rely more on Spot Buy or non-contracted spend in those countries.
That's very exciting. So we're seeing Spot Buy emerge as an important tool in the toolbox for sourcing and procurement professionals around the globe. James, how is Spot Buy helping those organizations achieve their goals and objectives?
Yeah, so procurement leaders are becoming more strategic within organizations, especially as supply chains and corporate agility become increasingly important and really critical in this global economy. Spot Buy is really helping these leaders address cost savings goals. They're able to leverage the process efficiency gains for finding and buying that 20% of that spend you spoke about, those non-source goods, and they're really able to find any goods. And again, as we've talked about in this podcast, augmenting or even in many cases replacing some contracted catalogs. But, Spot Buy really gives these procurement leaders more options, more competition, and this is going to mean, better quality, oftentimes better pricing, better delivery options. This is going to make their processes more efficient. They're going to, impact bottom line savings on price, and they're going to be more impactful, driving improvement and cost savings for the company.
Yeah, let me just add that now with Spot Buy, it takes minutes to find and buy what has taken many days and often weeks to source. This improves process efficiency, reduces vendor management costs, and drives down costs for long tail spend.
And that's exactly right. And in the U.S., most companies use a single ghosted P card. And what this means is that in addition to those savings, Damian, another thing I'm hearing CPOs talk about is kind of getting some control over their P card programs. And they really like the idea of Spot Buy being a really important tool for addressing their P card program. They get to contain the expansion of walk-around P cards, but at the same time get to drive more spend and thus capture more of the rebates available through their P card programs.
Yeah, I'd also add that in Europe, companies want confidence that their purchase-to-pay processes comply with local tax authorities. And in the Spot Buy team, we spent a lot of time and effort working on the invoice and payment component so that Spot Buy is truly a streamlined purchase-to-pay solution. To that end, Ariba partnered with PricewaterhouseCoopers to provide a comfort letter for Spot Buy in the countries we operate so that our customers can feel confident that not only our suppliers but also our processes have been independently vetted and verified.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for sharing your global expertise on Spot Buy. In closing, tell our listeners how they can begin to use Spot Buy and any other closing thoughts you may have. James, why don't we start with you?
Sure. First of all, Spot Buy is an included feature in SAP Ariba Buying and SAP Ariba Catalog Solutions. And you can also purchase Spot Buy as a standalone solution so that it could plug into your existing on-premise solution, whether it's SAP ERP, SRM, S4, HANA, Ariba Buyer, really any on-premise e-procurement solution, Spot Buy can plug right into it.
So I would say for my parting thought is that B2B marketplaces and marketplace procurement is here to stay. And we're eager to help source and procurement professionals determine how best to incorporate Spot Buy into their buying practices and processes. With the vetted content and procurement controls Spot Buy provides, businesses can have the best of both worlds. They can take advantage of this new marketplace procurement, a paradigm shift that's happening in a controlled manner.
If you're interested in learning more about Spot Buy, you can find us on the web at www.ariba.com/go/spotbuy.
Excellent. Great. Thank you all for joining this #MakeProcurementAwesome by SAP Ariba podcast. Thanks and have a great day.